today I want to start maybe one in a series of videos that talks about 20th century sonnets and particularly looks at sonnets by sonneteers who are writing either in or after World War II, kind of World War II era sonneteers. It's not an era of poetry we talk a lot about, especially about sonnets, but some of my favorite sonnets happen to come out of this era, and so I'd like to talk about them. The first one I'd like to talk about is a sonnet called the Sonnet Ballad by Gwendolyn Brooks. Now, Gwendolyn Brooks is a poet who is worth really diving into. She has a very wide body of work, ranging from the 1940s all the way up through the turn of the millennium. And Brooks, in her early poetry collections, focused on the sonnet, not exclusively, but there were many sonnets and many really important sonnets in those early books. Her second book of poetry was called Annie Allen. She published it in 1949, and it won the Pulitzer Prize in 1950. Gwendolyn Brooks was the first Black woman to win the Pulitzer Prize in poetry, and just any Pulitzer Prize. And, you know, there's sort of this legend about her that she and her husband were, you know, living in Chicago. They weren't making much money and their electricity had been turned off. And yet reporters showed up outside their house to interview her about winning the Pulitzer Prize. And some good Samaritan paid to have her electricity turned back on so the photographers could plug in their flash bulbs and take pictures of her. So she has a cool life story. She ended up poet laureate of the United States later in life, and is just a fantastic sonnet writer. So I want to look at a sonnet from that second Pulitzer Prize winning collection, Annie Allen, and this is called the Sonnet Ballad. O mother, mother, where is happiness? They took my lover's tallness off to war, left me lamenting. Now I cannot guess what I can use an empty heart cup for. He won't be coming back here anymore. Someday the war will end, but oh, I knew when he went walking grandly out that door that my sweet love would have to be untrue. Would have to court coquettish death, whose impudent and strange possessive arms and beauty of a sort can make a hard man hesitate and change. And he will be the one to stammer, yes, oh mother, mother, where is happiness? I love this poem a lot. I've talked about this poem with poetry graduate students. I think it teaches us how to read it. And also, I hope, for those of us who might want to try our hand at sonnets, it kind of teaches us how to write a sonnet and how to write a line of iambic pentameter. It's just a masterful poem. It's a pretty simple poem. You know, it doesn't have super dense language. Oh, mother, mother, where is happiness is a straightforward question. You even have the repeated mother, where is happiness? Very simple words. And in fact, O mother, mother, where's happiness is the first line, and it's also the last line of the sonnet. And it's interesting, this is called a sonnet ballad. And I think one of the reasons it's called a sonnet ballad is because the ballad traditionally has a repeating refrain. And this poem has a repeating refrain, as it has the first and the last line as the same line. So, O mother, mother, where is happiness? They took my lover's tallness off to war, left me lamenting. Now I cannot guess what I can use an empty heart cup for. This is a good A-B first quatrain of rhyming. Once again, pretty simple language. I cannot guess, off to war. These are pretty straightforward lines. And yet, Brooks is changing the diction and specifying the diction just enough to make it odd and memorable, not just anyone having a snippet of conversation about some loved one going off to war. So it's not they took my lover off to war, though that would work as a line of tetrameter. It's they took my lover's tallness off to war. The tallness specifies this particular quality, and we wonder, what is it about his tallness that she misses? We know something about him. He's tall, the tallness, commandingness, and now he's got to use it for war instead of for being a lover. And so, you know, I think we can read this poem as, yes, a particular statement by a particular speaker about a particular man, but also maybe this statement of all the beloveds that are sitting at home who are bereft of their lovers because their lovers are off at war. It's also interesting that this is clearly in the voice of a woman. And often, especially in the early centuries of the sonnet from the medieval era through the Renaissance era, the primary speaker in the love poem who talked about a lover was a male speaker, and the lover was a female character. And now here we have the tables turned. This is a female speaker, and this is a male lover. And it's interesting, the mother is involved, this kind of crying out to the older generation, hey, what's happening? What's happening? They're taking my lover's tallness off to war. And then we have this very odd phrase that always baffles me. An empty heart cup. Now I cannot guess what I can use an empty heart cup for. I almost think of like a measuring cup. Like I knew what it was for, but now that he's gone, I don't know how to use this thing anymore. This thing that is my heart. Once again, it's very close to the language of just, a blues song, a man did me wrong, ran off with another woman. And yet it's using the metrical structures and the rhyme scheme of a sonnet to give a new take that feels very familiar. He won't be coming back here anymore. Someday the war will end, but oh, I knew when he went walking grandly out that door that my sweet love would have to be untrue. So we have another quatrain. But it's interesting, this quatrain keeps the B rhyme. It's A, B, A, B, and then B, C, B, C. More new door untrue. So these two quatrains, which have alternating rhymes, they're linked a little more closely. There's a little bit of that Petrarchan, like we'll see how many times we can rhyme the same word. And then we have this wonderful turn after my sweet love would have to be untrue. In the 9th line, we have this immediate repetition of the second half of the 8th line. Would have to be untrue, would have to be untrue, would have to court coquettish death. Coquettish death is just a fantastic phrase. You almost feel Brooks working toward this, like, I'm going to give this portrait of death as this, this temptress, this coquette who is, my man's cheating on me with her, right? He has to court her. He has to be untrue. It's not that he's just a little tempted. No, war necessitates infidelity. And if you're getting the sense now that this is an anti-war poem, you're not barking up the wrong tree. He has to cheat on me with death, whose impudent and strange possessive arms and beauty of a sort can make a hard man hesitate and change. That word hesitate, what a wonderful verb there, that Latin word hesitate. It's a contrast, and it's a new type of verb in the poem. End, coming back, would have to. These are really kind of simple verbal phrases, and then hesitate is such a wonderful verb there. And then we have an M dash and change, and so that the M dash enacts in punctuation what the verb describes in hesitate and change. And he will be the one to stammer yes. He's almost now in the position of this, of this shy lover stammering yes. Oh, mother, mother, where is happiness? So we have yes and happiness come back in. That's the A rhyme. So A, B, B, C, B, C, D, E, D, E, A. It's a great study in common fear and loneliness, and maybe it's even a cry of injustice or about injustice to the older generation. The mother is very interesting there. The character of the mother repeats in Gwendolyn Brooks's poetry in very interesting ways. Most strikingly in her poem, The Mother, which is worth reading and a very difficult poem. Thanks for hanging out and looking at the Sonnet Ballad. If you're interested in Gwendolyn Brooks's sonnets, they're really worth checking out. You can find more sonnets of hers in Annie Allen, but also in her first collection, A Street in Bronzeville.